10% less if they pay the bill.
That's right.
Okay? So sometimes 30 to 50% less if they're on the hook. And some of us know this, that if we're paying the utilities, they don't care. They don't turn off lights. They run the heat and the AC all the time. And so giving them an incentive to care seems like good public policy. Plus, at the same time, if a big apartment community had a $10,000 water bill every month, and they were able to successfully divide that among their 300 renters and have that $10,000 bill paid for, how much more money would they make a year? $120,000 at a 6% cap rate or a 7% cap rate. That increases the value of their property a couple $1 million. Okay, and so when we, as most of us are small independent owners, we own fourplexes, duplexes, things like that. When we try to learn lessons from the larger property management industry, we should take a look and say, what's the point here? The point is, it's easier to pass on what? Utilities than raise what? Rents. Okay, and so let's talk about that for a second. Okay, common mistakes that landlords make when dealing with utilities, I actually heard a landlord dealing with this tonight on the phone, is that they let tenants move in before what? Before there's a transfer that occurs. And many of us have had a situation where we trusted someone and it burned us because they didn't get the utilities on. Can I make a recommendation? I would not give them the what? Keys until they have proof to you. Either they have account numbers or you call personally and verify with the utility company. So that's a common mistake, easy to avoid. Okay, returning deposits before checking the last bill. Has that happened to people in this room? Don't raise your hand. Has it happened to people you know? Maybe. Okay, so you return the deposit and then there's a water bill, there's an electric bill, or there's something like this that you didn't know. So we ought to be very sure that all the bills are paid before we refund deposits. And I'm not saying, and there's a company that's headquartered just in the building next to us, Thompson Mitchie. They have a guarantee with their tenants. They say, if you'll do a walkthrough with us, we'll get your deposit back within 5 days. Well, I have no problem with that. Do you think they dot every T and cross, or dot every I and cross every T before they give it back? Yeah, they do. So if you want to do it fast, if you want to be customer service oriented and get it fast, more power to you. But state law gives you how many days to return it?
30.
It's 30, okay? And there is a bill, by the way, the legislature I just found out today, to change the penalty if you don't return the deposit. Currently it's $100 plus attorney's fees and court costs. They want it to be treble damages plus the deposit. So if it's a $1,000 deposit, how much could it potentially be if you don't return it in 30 days? $4,000. Okay, do you think I'm going to let that happen to you? No, we'll figure out something. We will turn lemons into lemonade there, and we'll make the security deposit statute clearer and better for you, and we'll make it better for tenants too, because we're not trying to protect tenants. We're not trying to protect bad landlords, are we? We're in for best practices. You had a question?
Can't you just do an accounting within that 30-day period if there's still things that need to be taken care of? Or
the current law says that if there's things that need to be taken care of, you can send an accounting within 30 days and wait another 30 days. The new law probably won't say that. The new law will probably tighten it to 30 days.
Really?
The proposal is to just tighten it to 30 days. We'll see. Again, we just heard about the bill today, meeting with the senator tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes. But I think 30 days is usually sufficient to get it back, particularly when you're holding the money. It's not like you have to go raise it. You're holding it. Okay. All right. So another one is including utilities and rent instead of paying or in rent or paying them yourself. So you can tell I threw this together. We have a couple spelling checks and errors in here. Including utilities and rent or paying them yourself could be a mistake. Why? They're going to use 30 or 40% more. Okay? Why else might it be a mistake financially? Because your competitors don't. Okay? Most of your competitors don't. And there's no reason for you to do something that your competitors don't. There's no reason for you to leave money on the table. We're in the business of renting property. And again, we want to be customer service oriented and be good to our tenants, but we also need to pay our bills and send our kids to college and that kind of stuff. You know, when we bought UAA t-shirts and sweatshirts, We ordered mostly smalls and mediums. You know why, don't you?
Cheaper.
Because landlords, it's not because it's cheaper. Nice try. It's because landlords almost are all starving to death right now, right?
It's cheaper.
Okay, now there's spelling error here. Who should pay the end user? Or who should pay the bill? The end user. Okay, we know that. Okay, so most of us can, in our contracts, just simply say, who's responsible for the utilities? Yeah, and we could say all utilities. So what are some of the most common utilities? Gas and electric, those are the two. And then what else? What are the other three? Water, sewer, and garbage. Okay, if I were to ask what utilities people pay, my guess is that if they pay any at all, it's most common they pay water, sewer, and garbage. Do you agree? Okay, a lot of you are nodding your heads going, yeah, I have a house, I pay the water bill. Okay, do you know you don't have to, right? And why don't you have to? Well, so you're giving the argument why. You're saying they're using it, they should pay for it. The reason why is because under state statute, there's specific language the Apartment Association helped pass 5 years ago that says this. It says, government cannot interfere with a landlord and a tenant's right to contract for who pays utilities. What that basically means is, as long as you disclose it and contract, you can do whatever you want. You have the right. Does that make sense? So it's actually in state law, expressly listed in state law. Yes?
What if it's shared though? Like it would
Okay, here we go. She's asking a very good question. It's a fourplex, Paul. There's only one water meter. Well, there's a couple options. You could pay to sub-meter it. Does that sound fun? No. Pay somebody, put it, yeah, we don't need to do that. What you also could do is just separate it. Now, the big apartments, how do they only have one bill for their 300 units. How do they deal with this? Does anybody know the terminology here? I'll give you a sweatshirt or a t-shirt if you know it. Okay, it's called a RUB, R-U-B, a Resident Utility Billing System. RUBS is what they're called. A Resident Utility Billing System is, we get the bill, we divide it by number of units or square footage or some other thing. So if I had a fourplex, since state law allows me to do whatever I want, as long as the landlord and the tenant agree to it, it seems to me there could be three ways to split a fourplex. Give me what they are. But in four, 25% each, they're, 4 units, we're splitting it equally. What if 2 of them are 2 bedrooms and 2 of them are 1 bedrooms? That might not be fair, so then I split it by bedrooms or square foot or some kind of measurement, okay? What if I've got a duplex and one side's got 5 people and one side's got 1 person? I could split it by the number of occupants. So I can do it any way I want to. The key is, do it. Put it in your lease, specify it, okay? What questions do you have?
How do they make so much money in the big apartment buildings?
How do the big apartment buildings make money?
They charge more than the utility charges them, obviously.
Okay, can you charge a premium on top?
No.
There's nothing that says you can't, but it's not usual to do that. There might be a $3 administrative fee for the bill every month. But if I had a fourplex, I probably wouldn't charge any overhead. I would simply say, the bill averaged $125 last year. That means divided in half, it's 30-something to $31, or divided in 4, $31 a person. When would I have them pay that bill?
Every month.
And since we're doing it every month, why not do it the same time they pay their other bills, which is with rent? So say the rent's $1,000, plus you pay $31 for the water, sewer, and garbage on the first of the month. Now, what is the advantage if I get it before I pay the bill? My life's easy, okay? If I pay the bill and then I gotta go collect it, my life's not quite so easy, okay? If I put a bill in a tenant's name, now, do some water companies allow the water, sewer, and garbage to be in the tenant's name? Yes. Do some not? Yeah. So some of you are saying, well, mine does, mine doesn't. So here's what you do, regardless of whether the utility company, and in their defense, if you ran a water department, would you let tenants put the bill in their name? No, you make the landlord, because you can hold them accountable, you can lien the property, so on and so forth. And so I'm not going to criticize what they're doing. Government's got to try to do things efficiently and smoothly. But I don't have to pay the bill. I can pass it on to the tenant. Now, some utilities will send a copy to the tenant, and others won't. So let's deal with the ones that won't, okay? Let's say West Jordan doesn't, okay? So fine, the bill, I call them up, I say, will you please annualize it for me? Now, why do I want it annualized? Predictable. Is that good for someone like a tenant who's on a fixed income who likes to have a budget? How many of you have ever gone over to your rental property in July and the yard's burning up? Why? Because they just got the water bill from June and they shut everything off. It was so big, okay? And so we can do better. We can annualize it. Instead of these $200 bills in the summertime, we can make it $70, $75 annually, and that makes it really easy and smooth for them to budget. And then we just write in the contract that I'll pay the bill to West Jordan City, but you pay me the annualized amount of $75 on the first of the month along with rent. Does that make sense? That seem like a workable solution? Yes?
And does it need to be in a separate check?
I wouldn't care if it was in a separate check,
So
no.
it could just go in and...
Sure. Yep. In the back, Jolene?
Most utilities like, Tesla and gas, or even some water companies, now they call like a budget manager, fix them out for the whole year.
That's right. They will do equal pay or annualized, and that's what we're talking about. Yep. Kelly?
So, you know, utilities right now, they continue to raise rates, so you're gonna get an annualized bill, and you say it's $1,000.
Sure.
And you know, next year, when you decide the new lease and everything,
Yeah.
it's gonna be $1,200.
So great. We know if we sign a lease, if we estimate the charges, it might go up. It also could go down if you've got somebody very conservation minded. You could, if you choose, put a clause in there that says, hey, at the end of the year, we're going to evaluate this, and I'll either give you a refund or I'll charge you the difference. Okay? Or when you renew the lease, you could just correct it at that point and take your chance that it's going to be plus or minus $100 either side. It's up to you. I'm more about convenience and smoothness. There are some people that are really about exactness and precision, and the precision person is going to have that clause, and they're going to have an annual review, and that's fine. I'm just going to probably, at the end of the year, say I checked the number, and it's no longer $75. This is the new rate when we sign our new lease or our lease extension. Okay, right here.
Yeah, Paul, I love your suggestion on making a, an annual amount each month.
Yeah.
What if it's in their name and they don't want to do that, and then June hits and they get a big bill, and then you do drive by the property in July and your grass is burning up?
The question is, what if they want to keep the bill in their name and not do an equal pay? It's still their liability, and your contract has a provision. If the tenant lets the yard go, what can you do? You can serve a 3-day notice to comply, or you can correct it and charge them for it. So if you've got to send somebody over to correct it, you could charge them for it. Obviously, it'd be better if it never happened, so give them notice if you can and stay on top of it. Yes?
Most of mine are PUDs or condominiums, and the HOA covers water, garbage, and sewer.
Okay, so if the HOA builds it in, you can maybe,
You can't usually give them the whole HOA.
well, let's talk about this. If I rented in an HOA and the rent was $800, would I pay the HOA fee, or would I rather try to pass that on to the tenant? Be better if I pass that on to the tenant, wouldn't it? Okay. Now again, you got to compete. There's a market, but I'm just trying to get you to think of principles and practices. Yeah.
What you do with the annual, the monthly fee that's annualized, if they leave the windows open during the winter for the month, and now the next bill's...
He mentions what happens if they do something and the bills are out of whack. Well, again, you can have the adjustment clause at the end, or you can roll the dice and just adjust it a year from now. Okay? It's up to you. The reality is, some tenants I have found, if I went back and I reset it, I would be giving them a refund. Okay? The ones that aren't there very often, the ones that have smaller families or that are in school or things like that, they tend to actually use less utilities than I have them pay me for. So it's a double-edged sword. So make sure that if you put the clause in there, that you're willing to accept it either way. Yep.
Yeah, back to his question. So let's say you're renting a home in an HOA. Let's say you're renting it for $1,300, and the HOA is another
150.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you rent it for $1,450 or would you say $1,300 plus?
I love this question. The question is, how do I articulate my pricing? How do I say rent is $1,300 and the HOA fee is $150, or do I say the whole package is $1,450? Can I tell you that we have a principle in life called apples to apples comparison, right? Okay. And if I were including utilities or an HOA fee in my rent, I would never list my rent that it included that. I would do it like this. So the guy next to me is $1,000 rent. I'm $1,100 rent, but I include the HOA fee. Person over here is $1,000 rent. When we advertise that in our modern media world, even if we disclose, by the way, I include the HOA fee in this rent, what do people care about? What is the only thing they look at? Price. And so we got three prices, 1,000, 1,100, 1,000. Which one are they going to ignore? Me. So I take some significant risk if I build anything into my pricing, because most landlords price how? Base rents only. Okay? Again, you go to an apartment community, it's going to say starting from $875. Does that include their utilities? No. Does that include their fees? No. That is just base rent. And then they say, oh, by the way, let me explain before you sign the lease, there's this fee, there's this utility, there's this pass-through. They add things later. Okay? And I think in today's society, you got to be very careful of any marketing that's dishonest or that's questionable. So you just say the rent is $1,000, and then what are the other fees? Well, okay, here's the other fees, if asked. Yep.
Do you have them send the HOA fee to you or to the HOA company?
Can I make a recommendation that I don't think renters are good at paying bills?
Yeah.
And so if you send the HOA fee to the renter and they're responsible to pay it, 6 months from now the HOA could be all over you because they didn't, and you're going to have to pay back 6 months. So I, again, would keep it in my name and let the tenant pay it to me. John?
Yeah, I was going to say, I have that PUD one as one that I've worked with. So one of the things you want to do as well is see what your immediate competitors, if you have them, are doing, and especially the commercial guys. The commercial guys will always have the rent plus, plus, plus. You can also add, you can do the rent and add the HOA fee. You can also take the utilities out and not charge an HOA fee, but still charge you utilities. So it depends how you want to pay your marketing, because you will have a bill from the HOA that says, for instance, for ours it's $165, and I think 58 of it is water, garbage, and sewer. So I can either pass on that 165 on top of the base rent, or I can charge on the utility part, the 58. In either case, I'll make them pay me that all in one check. It'll just be itemized. And then it's not going to change for me because that's under control of the HOA. The other utilities go to their name. So you can mix and match it, and you want to know what the competitors are doing so that you can help them do apples to apples comparison when they call you.
Okay, any other questions?
Can you raise that utility rent to the next month when you get a huge amount from the previous month?
His question is, if you get a huge overage, let's give you an example. They break the toilet or something, they leave something running, and the toilet's running constantly, and the water bill shoots up. Sure, you'd have to have what in your contract? Adjusting language. Okay? So he's making another argument for having adjusting language in there to deal with these types of things. Yes, in the back?
What do you think of these landlord agreements at Rocky Mountain Power?
I would always have a landlord agreement with every utility company. Why? Because in addition to being a property manager, I'm an asset manager. What does it mean to be an asset manager? Yeah, I have an asset that I need to care for and maintain and keep increasing in value, not decreasing in value. And so I would never, for instance, let a tenant turn the gas off in February and risk what? Yeah, I've got this great picture. I should have put it in here. I'm so sorry. I'll do it next month and I'll put it in the Landlord Times. But it's this beautiful, unless it's your apartment or your building, ice stalagmite picture of a place where, and it's beautiful, they're coming right off the couch and off the coffee table, and it's lovely, unless it's your place, right? And that can happen if you let utilities ever get shut off. So I would never hesitate to sign a utility agreement or a landlord agreement with these companies and say, hey, If for any reason the tenant doesn't pay, or if it's ever off, automatically transfer it in my name. We were talking with somebody yesterday, and they said, look, I can't even show it unless the lights turn on. I can't send a carpet cleaner over there unless all the utilities are on, the water and that kind of thing. And so we do need to make sure the utilities are on. So I would always have a utility agreement, and I would always say pass it on, move it into my name if it turns off. Now, if a renter violates their contract by getting it turned off and it transfers into my name, how do I deal with that?
Create notice.
A 3-day comply or vacate. I did this 5 years ago to a tenant. She just moved out this month. She stayed since then. It didn't hurt her feelings. I just said, hey, you got the gas turned off. You need to fix it. She said, sorry. We made a mistake. She got it turned back on. She stayed another 5 years. Okay? That's how you deal with it. Yeah.
Plus another thing is if you do have that issue where it's suddenly shut off and then you have to get them turned on again, they're going to charge you a fee for that.
Oh, guys, reconnect fees are just ridiculous.
Yes. And they're
So I don't
stupid.
ever want them shut off.
Yeah.
And, you know, they sometimes, Questar, I think, has this new, they won't reconnect for 24 hours.
Right.
Well, they'll charge you an extra fee if they do it quickly.
How
Yeah.
would you find out in 3 days? I mean, sometimes.
Oh, so I had a landlord agreement on the property, and the minute she had the bill turned off, it was September, so it wasn't super critical. I got a letter, I think 2 days later, from Questar, said we just want to inform you as per our landlord agreement that the bill has been switched off. Now, I've since changed it and tried to get them just automatically transfer it into my name, and then I would get the bill, and then I'd go hassle her. Okay. All right, 2 more questions, and then be sure to grab your mugs on the way out. And, okay, you're first.
I'm set up on that landlord disconnect and stuff, and I didn't even know about it until the next billing cycle that tenant had to switch the bill over.
So his tenant neglected to pay it, got switched into his name, he got stuck with a little bit of the bill. Another argument John made earlier for large deposits, okay? The tenants do stuff. We sometimes are perfect and catch it the day after it happens. Sometimes we don't catch it for 30 days. A large deposit would make you sleep a lot better at night. Okay, one more and then let's go. Yep, here we go.
Percentage-wise, what is a good deposit to charge?
She's asking a great question, percentage-wise of rent. What is a great deposit? I can't set rents, and we can't as a group set rents. That would be antitrust. But what we can do is say how many people in the room charge between 0 and 50% of 1 month's rent as your deposit. I don't see any hands. Usually it's about 5 to 10%, somewhere in that range. How many of you charge between 51 and 99% of 1 month's rent as your deposit? I see about a third to half of the hands. How many of you try to get at least 100% of 1 month's rent as a deposit?
Absolutely.
Did you hear John had a $5,000 deposit on somebody? I've had $3,000 deposits on people. And my experience is people willing to put that much down and have that much skin in the game, usually pretty good. And another option to security or triple or double deposit is what? Co-signer. Have their dad or somebody that's responsible. It's got to be someone that's responsible. It can't be another renter or their sister who's in the same demographic as them.
But isn't that another person just chased down the road and he's already in Florida or somewhere?
How many of you have successfully collected from a co-signer? Okay, many people in this room have successfully collected from a co-signer. So you basically, somebody else is in charge. If the person on the lease leaves holding the bag, your attorney garnishes their wages and you get the money back. That's how it works. Thank you so much for coming. Glenn has one thing and then we'll go.
You should cancel those if you sell the property or you're not managing anymore.
Oh, always cancel your landlord agreements when you sell the property or stop managing it, because they can't come back to bite you.
That's right.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, man. You're welcome. Awesome.